In today's class, we'll be talking about functions. The syntax of your functions are mostly similar to the programming language, and method for calling them, the method for initializing them uh, are also remain same. But apart from that, here you have some more features added to your functions. Usually, if you talk about functions, suppose, for example, assume that you have a program, and in this program you have, let us assume, 10,000 lines of code. Let us assume you have 10,000 lines of code, and in this 10,000 lines of code there are some set of statements which occur together. Suppose, for example, there are three statements. Suppose x, y, z. These are the three instructions. But some instructions, they can be any instructions, they occur together. And so on. They occur together for let us assume 100 times they occur. Now what happens is, when this happens, you observe that all these three instructions occur together and they do the same thing. Okay. But if you, every time they occur, what happens is the size of your code is increasing. Okay. Instead of this, what happens is we have come with a strategy where we take this set of instructions, give a common name to them. Okay. So let us assume function 1. I'll be giving a common name to them, and also it doesn't return any value, let us assume. Now, whenever the set of instructions are required, instead of writing x, y, these three instructions, what do I do? I simply call the function 1. Similarly here also, function 1. 100 times I'll be doing that. As a result, what happens is, you are grouping this set of instructions and putting them aside, and whenever you require them, you are taking them and using it. So as a result, the readability of your program increases, the size of your program decreases, and suppose this set of instructions, suppose you want to modify this, you have to modify these instructions in these functions, and it will be reflected throughout your program. So debugging also becomes easy for us. So debugging the program becomes easy, your program readability increases, okay, and overall performance of your program might also increase. So that is this introduction about your functions. Okay. So let us try to understand the concept of functions, which you are already familiar with the examples. Here what I have done is, I have declared a simple example. I have declared a function called as my function, and this function just prints a statement called I just got executed. Now here what I am doing is, I am in my main program, the syntax for calling this function is name of the function semicolon. That's it. I can call it once, twice, thrice, any number of times I can call it. Or I can also place it under a loop. I can also place it under a loop and execute it 5 times. Any number of times I can execute it. It's up to me. So this is the simplest example of declaring and implementing a function and calling it from the main program. So this function does not take any arguments, and it does not return any value. That is why we have void. If it returns integer, suppose if I have something returned here, so I'll be having an int here. If it returns a float, I'll be having a float here, and so on. So it doesn't return any value, so I'm keeping it as void. In this example, what we have done is, here we have declared the main program, and after declaring your main program, I am implementing the function. This gives you an error because your compiler beforehand it should know what are the functions which are going to implement. Here your compiler, you know that your program execution starts from your main. So when you start from your main, your compiler sees that there is nothing defined or initialized above it. Okay. So your program assumes that there is no function being used here. So whenever you say my function here, it says that undefined function or something, some kind of error which you get here. So the correct way of implementing is, suppose you don't know how to implement this. So you just tell the, you just declare it. You say, are telling the compiler that in future I'll be using a function called as my function, and it will be not returning any values, and you start your main program. So then whenever you are ready to implement it, you can implement it anywhere in your program. So now your compiler knows that, okay, the user will be using a function called as my function, and he will be implementing it somewhere in his program. So whenever you call my function from your main program, your compiler knows that it is implemented somewhere in your program, and it searches for it and executes it. Here what we are doing is, this example demonstrates passing values to the function. One thing you should notice here is the data type called string. In your C programming, if you are familiar with, suppose you want to define a string, string is nothing but array of characters. So it gives a char of s name of size of your string. So this is how you define string in your C programming language. But in your C++, you already have a data type called a string. You just use this data type name and the variable which you want to use for it. So that is what I am doing here. So what does this function does is it takes a string as an argument and just prints it. So from my main program, I am calling this my function initially with a value called as lion. Next again I am calling the same function with the value called as Jenny. Next again I am calling the same function with the value called as Anja. So now what happens is, first lion gets printed, next Jenny gets printed, next Anja gets printed. So this is how it goes. So here we came across a new thing, that is string data type. So you don't have to define it in this way as you used to have in your C programming language. Here are another new concept which we come across is default parameters. So here I am defining the function to this the name and to this function I am passing a variable called as country, and I am assigning a value called as Norway here. Okay, let us see how it happens. So for my main program, I am calling this function using the parameter called as Sweden. So what happens is the compiler calls this function and value Sweden is passed to the country, Sweden gets printed. Next again my function India, I am passing the value India. India is passed to this value, India is assigned to the country, that is India gets printed. Next again I am calling this function without any argument. Now what happens is when your compiler comes here, it sees that this function takes an argument as an input. So as I am not defined and as I am not sending any value here, your compiler sees that, okay, a default value is being given to this variable. That is, whenever this function is called without any arguments, without any value, what happens is your compiler automatically assigns the default value which you have given while defining this function to this variable. So now what happens? Norway gets printed here. Next what happens is USA. That is, initially when I am passing Sweden, you don't have to use, the compiler knows that it does not have to use the default value as Sweden is given. Next India. So your compiler knows that India can be assigned to country because I am passing India, so default value don't have to be used. So default value comes into picture when you are calling this function without any parameters, without any values. You are calling this function, then default values can be used. So this is one other advantage which you have with your C++. So this function is same as your C programming language. I can have multiple data types to your function. That is, here I am passing string, and as well as here I am passing integer. So what happens when you are calling this function with lion 3? So lion is assigned to s name, 3 is assigned to age. So lion is 3 years old, gets printed. Next time I am calling this function with Jenny. So Jenny is 14 years, gets printed. Then Anja is 30, gets printed. So every time I call this function, I call with different values. So this is nothing but passing multiple parameters or different data types to your function. So these are simple examples where I can also return some values, same as the C programming language. Here, what does my function does is it takes an integer, adds 5 to it, and returns it. So directly what I'm doing is I'm calling my function, and output of the my function is printed. That is what this statement does. So what does my function does? My function is calling this function using the value 3. So x is assigned value 3. So here what we have 5 plus 3, which is 8. 8 value is returned. So the 8 value comes here. So 8 value is passed to the cout variable, which prints the value 8 onto your terminal. Here the same thing. So what I am doing is I am passing multiple arguments, 5 and 3. 5 is assigned to x, 3 is assigned to y. Both of them are added, and 8 is returned, and 8 is passed to cout, which prints the value 8. Here what I am doing is, instead of printing the value directly, whatever the value, suppose I am calling my function of 5, 3, 5 is assigned here, 3 is assigned here. So I will be having 5 plus 3 here. So the 8 value is returned here. 8 is stored in the variable called as z. Z is printed for it. So instead of printing it directly here, like here, what I'm doing is I'm taking the value into a variable and printing it. Here we come to an important concept called as function overloading. In this function overloading, what happens is, suppose if you take this example, I want to do a similar kind of thing. That is, I want to add two values. It can be integers or it can be double. I just want to add it. So for this, what I'm doing is I'm defining two different functions. First function adds integers, second function adds doubles. So from a main program, whenever I say num1 equal to plus function, so what happens? 8 is passed to x, 5 is passed to y, 8 plus 5, 13. 13 is returned. So 13 is stored in your num1. Similarly, 4.5 and 6.26 gets added and stored in my num2, and both of them are printed. That is what your function does. But your C++ says that when you are doing similar things, that is when you are adding two values, you don't have to use different functions here. So what do I mean by that is, here you can see that I have defined two functions. The name of the functions are same, plus function. But both of them take different parameters. One takes integer, one takes double. And one returns integer, one returns double. So now what happens is, from my main program, if I call plus function of 8, 5, your compiler sees that there are two functions with the same name. But your compiler identifies. First, your compiler distinguishes in this way. First, it says that, okay, first let me check what type of parameters are passed. Okay, here I am passing integers. So I have to use this function. I don't have to use this because I am not passing fractional values. I am only passing integers here. So 8 and 5 are stored here, and this function gets executed. Second time what I am doing is I am passing 4.3 and 6.26. Obviously your compiler says that there are two functions with the same name, but the parameters which I am passing are not integers. So obviously this function gets executed. So function overloading helps us in this way. That is, we will be having same names, but your compiler can distinguish these functions based on type of arguments, number of arguments, and also return type. In this way, you don't have to get confused. Whenever you want to add two values, you just call this function plus value and pass the values to it. Your compiler will take care of which function has to be executed at the runtime. So this is the concept of function overloading, which we'll be talking in our later classes. Thank you.